Hey guys, this is Lala Legacy and welcome to my new series of story time. So, I had put up a poll on my Twitter. If you haven't followed me on Twitter yet, please go do so that way you can participate in these polls. And I had put up a poll the other day asking you guys what kind of story that you would like to hear for my first story time. So it came up that you guys want to hear about my ex-boyfriends. And so after that, I put up another poll to see which one of my ex-boyfriends you guys wanted to hear about. Of course, I'm not using any names. I just used the first letter of their first name to indicate, which one they were in the poll. And you guys have casted your votes. So, this is going to be a story time about my most recent ex-boyfriend and his psychotic family. So for this story, just to not be saying his real name, let's just call him Andy. So, Andy and I, we met on Skype, actually, when Skype was still relevant, and it was through a mutual friend of ours, through playing Cards Against Humanity. Because I asked her if she wanted to play, she said yes, and she wanted to invite a couple of her friends, or at least, invite me into a group call with her friends. And so, that's how it happened. I met Andy and a couple of other people through this mutual friend of ours. And we just all ended up hanging out, like playing Cards Against Humanity for hours on end. We had our own little deck that we created eventually for Cards Against Humanity games, and so on and so forth. So we decided I decided really, that I liked this guy, a different guy actually in our group. I really, really liked him. But the way that he was acting and the things that he said about what he wanted in a relationship really did not match what I wanted. So I wasn't really sure. And all of a sudden, I was talking about it with Andy. And some of our friends kind of came up to me and they were like, "Hey, you know that Andy likes you, right?" And I'm like, "What? No, he doesn't." And me being the person that I am, I decided to confront him about it. And he admitted that he did like me, and we started talking seriously about it. And eventually we just ended up together. And even before that, I was like, I have lupus. It's not going to get any better. This, that. Are you sure you want to do this? Because I'm giving you every chance to back out now. And he kept saying, "Yes, I want to do this. Yes, I want to be with you. Yes, I know these things are going to happen. And no, I'm not afraid of it." And so, that gave me the strength and I guess the confidence in thinking that we were actually going to be okay. So we started dating, and we had been doing the online dating thing for 3 months or so before I was able to actually get the chance to drive down to his state, which he lived maybe 2-3 states away from me. So that was a long drive, but I finally got the chance to do it, and we set it up, and I made the trip. And so we finally got to meet in person. Everything was wonderful. And he ended up coming back home with me for a month, to spend time with me in person and all this. So during this time, everything was really, really, really great. We were connecting so well, and everything just felt right. But as soon as, no, I'll save that. So after he went home, it was another month or so before his family was taking a trip to a state that's just one state away from me. And it was only a couple hours away where they were going to be from where I was. So Andy, decided to basically make his parents drive him up to where I am, or to where I was, and spend another month with me. So that happened, and after that month, he convinced me, he and his mother actually convinced me to go and move down there with them, 2-3 states away. I was stupid enough to believe every word that was coming out of their mouths, because they promised, like, oh yeah, there's gonna be like a place for you guys to stay, like everything is sorted out. Like, I had things sorted for myself already, like by myself, where I was, all that kind of stuff. I was comfortable, I knew what was happening, I knew where I was, I knew what I was doing. And so this threw me for a loop, because moving away from where I was comfortable and where I was stationed, was just a huge thing. Because that was going to throw everything out the window, basically, that I had worked for, or up to that point, to where I was comfortable. But I took a chance because I believed in him. My mistake. So I moved there, and things were not going the way as they were promised. The place that we had been promised, which, I would have gotten a way to be able to help pay and stuff, he would have been able to, help pay and whatever. And it just wasn't working. But the place, it was not ready to move in like his mother had told us, and it was being completely gutted out. Like, there was basically no floor in some areas of the house, because they took me to go see it. There was basically no floors in some areas. It had black mold in it, I believe, if I remember correctly, that I saw. This was years ago, by the way, guys. And it was just nasty and not anywhere near what was promised. So I started to get upset for good reasons. So I had brought it up to Andy, saying, no, I can't do this. If things don't get worked out, I'm gonna just, call my parents, because I didn't have any other way back home. So I was gonna be I'm gonna call my parents and have them come get me and, just leave. And I'm sorry, but I would have to leave you too, because you promised me something that you couldn't deliver, and I can't be with somebody like that. Like, somebody who would blatantly lie to my face. And of course, he was like, oh, no, things will work out. And so we got an offer from his grandpa to live in a place that he owned, which he owned 2 different places. One of them was upstairs, in an upstairs apartment above some business. And the stairs were super steep. With my health issues, going up those steep steps was really freaking hard. And so, of course, we went and looked at it and everything. But because of the stairs, we were like, no, we can't move into this one. And so the grandpa was like, well, I have another place. And it was on ground level and whatnot. So it was super easy for me to get into. And it was honestly perfect. We went to look at it, Andy and I both went to go look at it, and it was perfect. It needed some cleaning up, obviously. The carpets probably needed to be redone, and there needed to be a fridge and a stove and stuff put in. So it wasn't very much work, to be honest, if you really, really think about it. But then the grandma wanted to try and make up any sort of excuse for us not to live there. Her excuse, which she knew is something that I am so adamant about not happening because of my health, is, oh, well, what if she gets pregnant? Really? Are you kidding me? So I got even more upset. And through all of this, like, I was helping out around his parents' house and stuff, like doing dishes when I needed to, or when they needed to be done, I should say, cleaning up after them, and doing the stuff that I needed to on my own. And they would, like, say, oh, well, you didn't do anything. You were lazy. And I'm looking at them like, are you serious right now? Like, I'm cleaning up after you guys. And the mom was pissing me off so much. Excuse my language, but she was pissing me off. And it got to the point where Andy had hurt himself. And it was something that was like, oh, well, a lot of people do that. It happens all the time. Like, just give it a couple of days. And if it's not better in a couple of days, then you should, like, get a ride from your mom to the doctor's, because we didn't have a car either. Like, he and I did not have a car. So we relied on her, which was another mistake. So a couple days had passed and he still was not feeling any better. He went and asked his mom to give him a ride to see a doctor, and she yelled at him, saying that he was lazy, that he just didn't want to work, that he was lying. And so he came up to me in tears, and that was where I had to draw the line. And so I got up and I went right up in her face, and I am going to quote exactly what I said to her. I said, what kind of mother are you? Like, this is your son asking for medical attention. What kind of mother does this? And obviously that pissed her off, but I mean, hey, I was telling the truth. And this is the kind of person that I am. If you are doing something wrong, I will call you out on it. I don't give a shit. I don't care about your feelings if you are going to be a shitty person, you know? So, of course she got angry and she wanted me gone by then. And it was just a whole mess. And so when we were getting ready for me to, like, go back home, because grandparents weren't going to let us move into their into their little apartment thing that they offered, and it just wasn't working, he was actually supposed to come to my state with me. And he was telling me all these things like, oh, my mom threatened to, like, throw out all my stuff if I move. Or like, oh, I bought my bus ticket and my mom won't let me go. And then he made up a lie, a huge lie, saying that his mom was abusing him. And I had called the police because of what he said, and said, hey, look, well, I got a friend to do it, because at the time I didn't really have, like, a phone to do it for, like a phone that I could call out on. And so I had a friend of mine do it. And she was basically like, hey, so I have a friend, her boyfriend is being abused. Like, he said that he was being abused by his mother, like, right now. This is his address, or this is their address. Can you go, like, do a wellness check on them? And so the police went and whatnot. His mother flipped her shit, saying that I was being manipulative when clearly I was not. And this was at the time I was back home, by the way. So I was back home, had been on a bus for like 17 hours, which really messed with my health, which is why I actually have to walk with a cane now, which is really shitty. But anyways, so his mom flipped her shit on me and was calling me manipulative, that calling the cops was manipulative, that I was a bitch, all this other sort of stuff, like just calling me every name under the sun. And of course, I was like, well, you know, he said this, like literally said this, sent her a screenshot of what he sent to me. And she called me a liar, which it's like, okay, Like, I provided timestamps and everything, and I'm just like, well, if you want to think that I'm lying, you can go ahead and think that I'm lying, but proof is right here. And, like, she was threatening to throw out all my stuff because, you know, going on a bus, you can't carry much. So she was threatening to throw out all my stuff, which was illegal, especially because I'm Native American. I have eagle feathers in my stuff that was still at their house. And they are a white family. For those of you who do not live in the US, it is a federal crime for a non-native person to own eagle feathers. And it can land you in prison for many years. And for each eagle feather, that is like however many years in prison, plus I think it's like up to $30,000 fine per feather. And I had like 5 or 6 in my stuff that was still at their house. And so, of course, because she was being that way, I decided to call the DNR, which is the Department of Natural Resources, and get in touch with like the gaming people in their area. And like, I don't know what happened because I wasn't updated on what happened. But I wouldn't be surprised if they actually like served some time or had like a major fee on their hands. And yeah, so they like continued to harass me. Like, obviously he and I broke up and it was just all a mess. And during this whole like relationship, he was talking to like this 14-year-old girl, and like it was so ridiculous. Because she would know that I was there listening, or could hear her at least, and she would tell him to go home so that way he could pay attention to her in front of me. And then she lied about having breast cancer, trying to get him to sympathize with her so that way she could go and visit him and stuff. And it was just so disgusting. And even though, like, I was like, you know, like, if she ends up actually coming to visit you, and from what I was aware of, was that she was on probation and living with her grandfather, who would have never allowed her to go, that if she did go, because he said to her, yeah, you can come here, like, during whatever month. And I was like, you know, like, if she does actually come, the police can actually arrest you for that, because she would be like a runaway and you would be the one in trouble because you said that she could come and stay. And he wouldn't believe me. And it's like, my father had told him the same thing, which my father actually used to work for the state, so he knows the laws. His wife at the time told him the same thing. His wife's sister had told him the same thing. And his mother is a lawyer. And yet she was okay with it when she knows that her and her whole family could get in a lot of trouble. Which made no sense to me. But yeah, like, I'm only touching the surface on this because this video is getting pretty long. So I will leave it here. And if you would like, please leave a comment down below and let me know if you guys want to know more about this story, or like have me go a little bit deeper into it, because I do have some other details that I could share that are pretty disturbing. So, if you liked it, guys, please give it a big thumbs up down below, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter so that way you can participate in my polls, especially for my story times. So, I hope that you like it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!